Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery.
Today we are making this gorgeous hibiscus flower granny square. This easy crochet flower granny square is made using basic crochet stitches and is actually a granny square. It is not an applique that is stitched on. It is also part 12 of our BloomScape Cal 2023, which is one new flower granny square center every month that we are joining up to make a fabulous blanket. So if you are looking for more easy and unique granny square patterns, be sure to check out the playlist linked in the description box below. Whether you're a seasoned crochet expert or just starting out, this hibiscus flower granny square pattern is designed with simplicity in mind. Clear, step-by-step instructions and a detailed written pattern will guide you through each stitch, ensuring your crochet journey is a delightful one.
And yes, if you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, they're available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. And you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you.
And if English isn't your first language, you can click this gear on the video and scroll through to find your preferred language. To make this fabulous hibiscus granny square, you will need 4 colors of yarn. I am using Favorite from Ice Yarns. It is a regular size 4 worsted weight acrylic. You will also need a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a needle for sewing in your ends. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To make the hibiscus granny square, we're going to start with a magic ring. You could do a chain 3 ring if you prefer, but just give this magic ring a try. It really helps close up the center of our flower really snug and nicely. So put the tail of yarn over your non-dominant hand and just hold it on your ring finger with your thumb. Wrap your yarn around your 2 fingers, making an X, and loop it under your 3rd finger, holding it with your thumb. Turn your hand over, you'll have a short strand and a long strand. Take your crochet hook, hook side facing down, and slide it underneath the short strand on top of the long strand, bringing it under and pointing the hook towards yourself, slowly releasing your thumb so that yarn slides, grabbing the long loop, pinching everything underneath your hook, and bringing that yarn through that loop. And there is your magic ring, chain 2, 1 and 2. Now into the center of our ring, taking care to go over our tail, we're going to do 11 double crochets. So 11 double crochets into the center of that ring, going over our tail. So there's 2, 3. You can pause the video and get your 11 double crochets done. And 11, and we just want to count, we want 12 including our chain. So our chain counts as our first half double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 12 stitches including our chain. Pull your tail just to shrink up that magic ring, close that center, just like that. And we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain to join. So we're going to slip stitch right into the top of our chain, 2 strands of that chain on the top of our hook. We're going to slip stitch to join. And that finishes round 1. To start round 2, chain 1, and now we're going to do front post single crochets. So we're going to go right down. You can kind of give your stitches a pull to kind of separate them. We're going to go right down. So put your hook down and up so that 1 stitch is on your hook, 1 single crochet or 1 front post single crochet, and chain 1. So put your hook down right underneath the next stitch right there, and 1 single crochet or front post single crochet. So we're just going to go along each of these stitches, so down and up just isolating that next stitch and doing a front post single crochet and a chain 1 all the way around. So we're going to do a total of 12 of these. Front post single crochet with a chain 1 in between. So you can pause the video, take your time, just go along. 1 front post single crochet and a chain 1 around each of these stitches from our previous row. You can pause the video. I'll meet you when we get back to where we started.
Are you enjoying this tutorial? Go ahead and hit this button under this video right now so you don't miss out on any more quick and easy fun tutorials just like this.
When we get back to where we started, we're going to join with an invisible join just so we don't see our chain 1. So we're not going to join right now, we're going to cut our yarn. And don't worry if you haven't done an invisible join before, it's really easy to do. So just pull your yarn through that last stitch we made, just like that. Go ahead and thread your needle. And we're going to insert our needle. If you're using a sharp tip, use the blunt tip for this part. We're just going to go underneath those 2 strands of that V, just where we normally would be slip stitching. So instead of putting in our crochet hook, we're going to pop in our needle. Don't tighten it too much, just bring it down. We want to keep an eye on where that yarn is coming from. It's coming from that stitch right there. So we're just going to pop our yarn right back down where it came from. And that's all you have to do for your invisible join. So you can go ahead and sew in this tail while your needle is threaded. Just make sure we don't interfere with our last row of stitches, or our first row really, our half double crochets. We don't want to mess those up. So just avoid those and go straight towards the center of your ring. Don't snug it down too much. Just keep it kind of handy. And also with the other tail. And now you can go ahead and close your magic ring. So sew in your tail for your magic ring. So just thread the center tail. We want to go forward 3 times and back twice. So we really want to make sure that center tail stays put. So there's my 3 times forward, and here is my twice back. 1 and 2. So now that tail isn't going anywhere, especially because of the sharp tip. So there are my tails. Now instead of cutting them off, I'm going to leave them in case we have to adjust any of those stitches to get them looking nice and round. Sometimes where we joined or we stepped up to start our front post single crochets, that can be a bit of a different looking stitch. We can use these tails later to just kind of stitch that little bit right into place so it looks like a perfect center of your flower. So that finishes round 2. To start round 3, grab your next color of yarn, whatever you're going to use for your petals. Now looking at the front side, the side that looks pretty, just one big circle. So this is the back and this is the front. So looking at the front, we want to see where we've joined our yarn, or where we stepped up from the first round to the second round, which is right here. And we want to go a little bit ahead of that and flip those stitches down. That's going to reveal our first round. And we're going to be working into those stitches. So just after the join, 1 or 2 stitches after the join, pop your hook in to one of those stitches. Loop of your new color yarn on your hook. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail just holding along the top edge of your work, and chain 2. 1 and 2. Now into that very same stitch, we can work over our tail for these stitches right here. We're going to do 4 double crochets. So there is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull your hook up to make a bigger loop. Take your hook out. We want to look for the top of our chain to join. So we're just going to be going in to this stitch right there, the top of that chain. So pop your hook in to the top of your chain. Loop of yarn back on your hook and just hold the top of your hook with your finger to make sure that that loop doesn't fall off. Shrink it down and turn your hook to bring it through that stitch. and chain 2. 1 and 2. Now fold the next little set of stitches down. We want to be looking, want to go into each stitch all the way around. So we went into this stitch way over here. Our next stitch is right there. It looks small. We're already kind of worked over it with that popcorn stitch. We're going to go into this stitch and each stitch all the way along. So into our next stitch, right there, 5 double crochets. So this is how we're going to do a 5 double crochet popcorn. So there's 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull your hook up to make a bigger loop, take your hook out, and we're going to look for the top of that first double crochet. So if you just wiggle your finger in to separate those stitches we just made, slide your hook right into the top of that first double crochet right there. So pop your hook in, loop of yarn back on your hook, just holding the top of your hook so that loop doesn't slip off, and bring it through that stitch and chain 2, 1 and 2. Fold the next stitches down. We want to look for that next stitch right there. So into that very next stitch, 5 double crochets to make our 5 double crochet popcorn. So 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can adjust the speed if I'm going too fast. Just hit that gear on the video and slow me down or speed me up. You can also pause the video and get caught up. Take your hook out, bigger loop, and find that very first double crochet we made. So I just pop my finger in to isolate those 5 stitches. And right there at the top is our very first double crochet. So slide your hook in, loop of yarn back on your hook, turn your hook so that hook matches the size and shape of our stitch, bring it through, and chain 2, 1 and 2. So now we're going to go around making a 5 double crochet popcorn into each stitch. So just remember to fold your stitches down so you can see the stitch you're going to be working into. We're going to make a total of 12. So there's 12 stitches along our first round, and that is where we're going to be doing our popcorns, 1 into each. So pause the video, 1 5 double crochet popcorn with a chain 2 into each stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get back around to where we started, we want to have 12 popcorns. So just count how many popcorns you have, and because we started right after that join, we can adjust our popcorn stitches. We can always put an extra one in or skip a little bit just to kind of make up if your stitch count is a tiny bit off, but we want a total of 12. So I have 11. We are ready to do my very last one. I'm going to go into that very last stitch to make my last popcorn. Also, when you get to your last popcorns, you can fold those popcorns down to get them out of your way so your double crochets don't get stuck or your hook doesn't get stuck in your first popcorn you made, because it is nice and out of the way. So that might help you if you find yourself snagging that first popcorn. Just fold it down and get it out of the way. So there's my 12 popcorns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We want to join after our first popcorn. So there's our first popcorn. We're going to join over here, and we're going to join into that very first chain. So on the other side of our first popcorn, right into that chain. So 2 strands of that stitch on the top of your hook, and slip stitch to join, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now into this very same space, we're going to do 3 double crochets, all into the same space. There's 1, 2, and 3. 1 treble crochet. So wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet. And now into that stitch right after our popcorn, that first chain we made right there, we're going to do 1 treble crochet into that stitch right after the popcorn. So wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet into that stitch. And now into the next space, we're going to do the opposite of what we did. So 1 treble crochet, 3 double crochets, and a chain 3. So starting with 1 treble crochet, then 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to slip stitch into that chain, or that stitch that closed up our popcorn. We're going to slip stitch right there, right at the top of our next popcorn. Slip stitch. So that's our petal for this round. We're doing half into each space. So 2 spaces per petal. So now we're going to start our next petal into the next space. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets, and 1 treble crochet, all into the same space. So there's 1 double, 2 doubles, 3 doubles, wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble, and now into the stitch at the top of that popcorn, 1 treble crochet into the stitch. So that's going to be the very center of our petal. Just like that, and now we're going to go down into the next space. So treble, 3 doubles, and a chain 3. So here's our treble crochet, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that stitch right at the top of our next popcorn. Just pop your hook in and slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to start our petal into this next space. So 3 double crochets and 1 treble, all into the same space. So there's 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. Wrap your yarn twice for a treble crochet. Now into the stitch, the top of that popcorn, we're going to do our treble crochet, the very center peak of our petal, 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, just like that. Into the next space, we're going to go down. So starting with a treble and then 3 doubles. So there is our treble crochet, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now into the top of that popcorn, that stitch right at the top, pop your hook in, slip stitch to pin down that petal, and chain 3 to start your next petal. 1, 2, 3. So you can pause the video and keep working around, starting a petal into the next space with a chain 3 and 3 double crochets, 1 treble crochet, into the stitch of the popcorn, 1 treble crochet, and then working your way down into the second space with 1 treble crochet, 3 doubles, and a chain 3. slip stitching into the next petal to pin that down. So pause the video and keep working all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get back to where you started, I have finished my petal and done my chain 3. Now we're going to slip stitch into that very same stitch we normally would be. So I'm not going to go into where my chain is right there. I'm going to slip stitch right over into that starting chain just to kind of pin that very first petal together right there. So pop your hook into that top of your chain just like that, and slip stitch to join, and that finishes round 4. To start round 5, chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're going to be working into the back of our flower, and don't worry if your flower is all ruffled up like that. That'll help the petals look nice and realistic by the time we have it laying flat. So looking at the back of your work, we're going to be going around those stitches right there. So right underneath where our hook is where we're going to start. So we're going to be putting our hook into the first space before that stitch and out right after. So underneath our petal sections. So we're going to put our hook down into the space before and up into the space after. And we're going to slip stitch. So now we're doing front post slip stitches and a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So find your next space and the space after. So we're going to go into the first space and out the second space and slip stitch. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Down into the next space and up and out the next. Just like that, just isolating that stitch. 1 front post slip stitch. And chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do this all the way around. Down into the next space and out the space right after. And slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. See, you can fold your work in half so you can just get at that one stitch or that one space that you need to get at. So down into the next space and up and out the one after. So down into the space and up and out the next. Tighten up your yarn and slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So you can pause the video and keep working around doing a front post slip stitch and a chain 3 all the way around. We're just making these little spaces for our next round. So pause the video and keep working around, going into the first space and out the second space, and doing a front post slip stitch with a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. All the way around. I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get back to where we started, our very first chain space is right there. So we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch to join up. So right into that slip stitch we made, we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch to finish this round. So slip stitch to join and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Now, pro tip, if your join here is a bit out of shape or your circle's great except for one spot, use the tail to kind of get that back into shape. So thread your needle and get your yarn on to the pretty side of your flower, just so we can see where it is. Get your tail where you need it to be. I'm just going to go right over, I'm going to stitch over that little glip right there, just to kind of pinch it into shape, to get it to behave. So from one popcorn back, I'm just going to make that spot impossible for that yarn to stay in, or just kind of pull it where it needs to be. There. Just like that, and now our center looks nice and round. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but you just don't want anything weird sticking out, and you can just use your tails to fix that if you need to. And that finishes round 5. To start round 6, we want to be working into the front of our flower, but we also want to have these petals out of the way. So just fold your petals down. It doesn't matter where. We're going to be working into these chain spaces along the back side. So pop your hook into any of these chain spaces. Loop of your leaf color on your hook. Bring it through and slip stitch to join. Dropping your tail, just holding it along the side of your work. We can work over it for a couple stitches. And chain 2. 1 and 2. Make one more double crochet into the same stitch. Just like that. So that counts as 2 double crochets. Fold the next set of petals down, or that next petal, and into the next space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. 3 double crochets into the next space. 1, 2, and 3. And into the next space, 2 double crochets. 1, 2, like that. Into the next 2 spaces, we're going to do 3 double crochets into each. So we're just going to alternate. So 3 double crochets into the next 2 spaces. There is 2 and 3. And into the next space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into the next space, 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Into each of the next 2 spaces, 3 double crochets into each. 1, 2, and 3. And into the next space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Into the next space, 2 double crochets. So we're alternating 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, all the way around. So there is our 2 double crochets. 3 double crochets into the next 2 spaces. 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So now we are right back where we started. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain to join. So right into the top of that chain, we're going to slip stitch to join. 1 slip stitch. And that finishes round 6. To start round 7, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into that very same stitch, or that very first chain, we're going to do 1 double crochet. Just like that. Chain 2, 1 and 2, skip 2 stitches, so 1 and 2, working into the third, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skipping 1, and into the second, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, so skipping 1 and 2, working into number 3, we're going to do a corner. Corners are 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So there's my first 2 double crochets, chaining 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. 1 and 2. Chain 2, skip 2, so skipping 1, skipping 2, into the third, 1 single crochet. Chain 2, skip 1, and into the second, 1 single crochet. Chain 2, skip 2, so 1 and 2, into the third, we're going to do a corner. Corners, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So there's my first 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. 1 and 2. Chain 2, skip 2, 1 and 2, into the third, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skipping 1, and into the second, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, 1 and 2, into the third, we're going to do our corner. Corners, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets all into the same stitch. So there is our first 2 double crochets, chain 2, our last 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, skip 2, and into the third, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skip 1, and into the second, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and now we are right back where we started. So into that very same stitch, right where our chain and our double crochet is, right into that same stitch, that is where we are going to finish our corner and finish the round. So into that same stitch, 2 double crochets to finish, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we're going to slip stitch in to the top of that chain to join. So we're going to slip stitch right there to join. 1 slip stitch, chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And that finishes round 7. To start round 8, just pop your hook in to any corner space, just where we have not joined our yarn. So don't put it in the same spot we've joined already. Put it into a different spot. Loop of your granny square color on your hook or whatever you're going to use to make your square. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail just holding it along the side of your work. We can work over it for the next 2 stitches and chain 2. 1 and 2. If you join your yarn in a different way, you can do a chain 3. Now wrap your yarn and 2 double crochets into that same corner space. There's 1 and 2. And into the next space along the side, 3 double crochets. So we're just doing a regular granny square now. We're turning our flower into a proper granny square. So 3 double crochets into the space, and 3 double crochets into each space along the side. So 1, 2, and 3. and into the next space 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're at our corner, so whenever you do reach your corner, just bring your tail forward. We can work over it. We still have to sew it in after with a needle, but it does help put some extra stitches on top of it. So bring that tail forward so we can work over it. And our corners are 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all into the same space. So there's 2, and here is 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same corner space. 1, 2, and 3. Into each space along the side, 3 double crochets into each of those spaces. So into the first space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Into the next space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into the last space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now into our corner, we're going to do a corner, so 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets, all into that same corner space. So 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and if you need some more space in that corner for your stitches to lay nice and flat, just grab your leaf color and slide your stitches forward. That'll give you more space for your double crochets to lay nice and flat side by side. So just finish that corner with our last 3 double crochets. Just like that. So now pause the video, keep working along, 3 double crochets into each space along the sides, and corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. All the way along, I'll meet you when we get back into the corner space where we started. When we get back to where we started, into that same corner space where we began, 3 double crochets, just to finish off this round. 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to show you 2 different ways to finish. So the first I'm going to show you if you're going to join but continue with the same color yarn. To join and continue with the same color yarn, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to single crochet to join. So into the same spot we normally would, right here, the top of that chain, but we're going to do a single crochet to join. So pop your hook in, 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook, 1 single crochet to join, just holding that corner open with your finger, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And turn your work. If you are doing the BloomScape cowl, you would single crochet over into the next space. If you're doing a regular granny square, you would do 2 double crochets into that same space, 1 and 2, and then 3 double crochets into each space all the way along, same corners as we did before. So that's how you join and continue. If you're doing the BloomScape cowl, I'll also link that tutorial in the description box down below. If you are going to join and end, to join and end, we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to slip stitch into that same chain, the top of our chain right there. We're going to slip stitch and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Sew in your tails and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I am waiting for you in that video right there, and stay hooked.